So for this video, I'm going to cover how you can use algebra to solve for quadratic equations. So let's refresh our memory on quadratic equations. So quadratic equations, we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So in this equation, there's only one unknown variable, so which is x. So in the previous video, I already showed you how you can solve for the quadratic equation by doing the graphing method. So which is to find the intersection point of two functions. So in this video, I will use the algebra method to lead you through how to solve the quadratic equation. So we have vectoring the polynomials method and completing square method and quadratic formulas method. So in the first part video, I'm going to talk about the vectoring method. So next I want to solve for x algebraically. So how can we do that? So assume we have this example, x squared minus 4 equals 0. So a lot of times students will usually do this. So they actually isolate the number in the other side. So we have x squared equals to 4 and x equals to 2. So if you do something like this, I highly recommend you don't do something like this. So this is not true. So why is that wrong? So why you cannot actually solve for this by isolating the numbers in the other side? So basically, this is a dangerous method. You will easily lose one solution. So a lot of students will actually forget we have actually two solutions in this example, right? So we have x equals 2 and x equals -2. So if you use this method, you will easily lose one solution. So I don't recommend you guys use this method. So don't try this out. So what are the techniques of solving this x if the previous method doesn't work? So basically I can use, right, the factoring method. So factoring the polynomial may be the best way to do this. So let's try this out. In the math 10 courses, you learn this formula, a squared minus b squared give us a plus b times a minus b. So basically, if I have this number and this number, they are both square numbers. So we can actually write it as this format, a plus b, a minus b. So let's see. So in this example, we have x squared. So definitely it's a number square and minus 4. So it's 4 square area. So yeah, you remember 4 equals to 2 to the 2 power. So basically, I can rewrite this formula as x squared minus 2 squared equals to 0. So I can actually write this formula in this format, a plus b, a minus b. So assume a is x and b is 2. So you have x plus 2, x minus 2, and equals to 0. So I'm going to solve for x. So it's really common for students to get stuck when you actually finish this step and they have no idea how to solve for x. So it's really common. So don't panic if you don't really understand. So basically what happens here? So basically we have two different products here, A times B, right? I just call it different numbers. They actually equal to 0. So we have different products equals to 0, and I'm going to replace x plus 2 with A and x minus 2 with B. And we can actually write this formula as A times B equals to 0. So what do you know about A and B when the product here equals to 0? So basically, you would claim that either these number equals to 0, right? So if this number, one of them are not equal to 0, you cannot claim that the product of these two equals to 0. So at least one of them must equal to 0 when you have A times B equals to 0. So we have A equals to 0 or B equals to 0. So actually, I can replace the A with x plus 2 equals 0 or x minus 2, so which is B, equals to 0. And I'm going to solve for x. So after I replace A with x plus 2 and B with x minus 2, I got x plus 2 equals 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. And I'm going to solve for x. So x is equals to -2 in the first term here, or x equals to 2, right? If you solve for this expression, x minus 2 equals 0. So in this example, I come up with two solutions, and this is the correct method of doing this. So in the previous video, I basically touched on why the right side of the quadratic equation must be equal to 0. So this is the reason why. Because I want to factor out these two products, I have two different products equals 0. So if I have two different products equals to 0, one of them must be equal to 0. So this is the rule of the 0 product. So if this is 1, I cannot assume that A equals to 1 or b equals to 1. So a and b are not necessarily equals to 1. It can be 2 or 1 over 2. So it gives us 1 as well. So only 0 give you one of them numbers equal to 0. So I can solve. So that's why I can solve for this equation and get two solutions here.